right, aloha and good afternoon, everyone. We have a joint Hawaiian Affairs and Housing hearing this afternoon. I am Senator Maile Shimabukuro, Chair of the Hawaiian Affairs Committee. Other members are Senators Kurt Favela, my Vice Chair. We also have members, Senators Ihara, Keohokalole, and Richards. This hearing is being streamed live on YouTube. You can find links to viewing options for all Senate hearings and meetings on the live and on-demand video page of the legislature's website. If you're interested in seeing written testimony, go to capitol.hawaii.gov. In the unlikely event that we must abruptly end this hearing due to major technical difficulties, the committee will reconvene to discuss any outstanding business, and a public notice will be posted on our website. And for those testifying remotely, all testifier audio will be muted and video disabled until it's your turn to testify. As is the committee's practice, there's a 2-minute time limit per testifier. If there are temporary technical glitches during your turn to testify, we may have to move on to the next person due to time constraints. We appreciate your understanding and remind you that the committee has already reviewed your written testimony. Members, please wait to ask your questions for the testifiers until we have gone through all the testifiers for that measure. And I'll now turn it over to Senator Chang if you want to introduce your committee.
Thank you very much. I have our Vice Chair, Troy Hashimoto here. Thank you very much.
Very good. Okay, then we will start with the first measure, which is SB 2654, exempts any development of homestead lots or housing for DHHL from GAT tax. And first we have DHHL in support.
Good afternoon, chairs of the committees. We have DHHL. We'll send our original testimony available for answering questions.
Thank you so much. Next we have BNF with comments. DOTAX comments.
Any chairs, vice chairs, Clinton Piper, Department of Taxation. We stand on our comments available for any questions.
Thank you so much. Tax Foundation of Hawaii with comments. Keaukaha Pane'ewa Farmers Association with comments.
We'll stand a written testimony. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Dowling Company in support. Ho'omanapono LLC in support. Thank you. Hawaiian Homes Commissioner Randy Awo in support. And then we have Julia Estigoi Kaho'one support. Justin Silva opposition. Lou Favorito support. Momilani Awo support. Dennis Nevis in support. Rosemark Septimo in support. Keikoa Inomoto support. And Kinani Gramberg in support. Anyone else here for SB 2654? See none. Members, any questions? Okay, then we'll move on to the next one. SB 2779. This requires DHHL to build sufficient rental housing, including rental apartment units, rent with option to purchase, and others to satisfy the housing needs of Hawaiians on the homestead waiting list. So first up, we have DHHL in support.
Good afternoon, chairs, vice chairs of the committees. We can DHHL. We'll send on our original testimony and available questions.
Thank you. Keaukaha Pane'ewa Farmers Association opposition. Zoom. The Hawaii State Youth Commission in support. Ho'omanapono LLC in support.
Aloha mai kako. Iman Kalai Manaole, co-manager of Ho'omanapono Native Hawaiian Advocacy Corporation operating out of Waianae Coast. Good to see everybody over here. We strongly support this bill. We need to give the department the ability to have more than just one size fit all for development on Hawaiian homelands, and to be able to get people off the wait list, of which I am a wait lister. Recently we had a contentious hearing at the commission where, a lot of people didn't like the fact that there was a sale for a Kauai property that will provide condos immediately for people on the wait list. The 600 million is a beautiful idea, and it only covers homesteads, turnkey homesteads that can probably be finished of development 4, 5, 6 years out. Right now, we need people in homes right now. The act already provides in section 207.5 for rentals. They also already have enacted administrative rules for rentals. But this will give us the assurance that the legislature also supports the idea that we need multiple options to be able to get people off the list. If you're only going to stick with one model, we're never going to get anybody off the list. We need multiple models, and rentals is an important thing. And who am I to tell anybody on the list who may want a rental? No, you cannot have rental. You have to take a lot. We're going to continue to wait for another 100 years to get our lot. Aloha.
Aloha. Thank you. Cade Yamlum in support. Julia Estigoy Kahone, support. Justin Silva, opposition. Lou Favorito, support. Jan Makepa, opposition. Rebecca Inaba, opposition. Cindy Freitas, opposition. Patty Kanamoku Teruya, in opposition. Teresa Duarte, in opposition. Patrick Kahawai-Ola'a, in opposition. Commissioner Randy Awo, in opposition. Nancy Jones in support, and Zeb Jones in support. Anyone else here for SB 2779? Seeing none, members, any questions?
Hawaiian Homes.
Vice Chair Padilla.
You heard what sorry, not used to have being the vice chair, sorry. Still learning. Anyway, as we go forward, I know what the previous speaker said on the controversy at the commission, but, you know, Kali's building homes really quick in Ever Beach, Hawaiian Homes, so I don't think it'll be 100 years, but I think we're gonna get some lots pretty soon. But going forward, is this gonna take, so if I'm a waitlister and I decide to take a rental unit, it's gonna take me completely off the wait list, and my position on the wait list?
No, it will not. And I believe that that is one of the issues of contention, is that it actually doesn't directly address waitlist reduction, right? And so there is Act 279, and that was the point of it, right? It was called, for short form, the Waitlist Reduction Act. What we're trying to accomplish with rental units is that perhaps it doesn't directly address a direct reduction to the waitlist, but what it does is that it offers housing, right? It diversifies the portfolio of what DHHL can offer, which is not very much right now, right? DHHL from the last administration was trying to start to dip its toes in this direction. That's the Eisenberg development that's being contemplated. It's also developments like Uluke Kukui, right? Traditional housing that DHHL has not traditionally developed. Traditionally, it has developed single family lot development. But I think the time has come for us to expand how we house our beneficiaries versus always. There is definitely a direct connection between reducing the rate list, and that is the function of the program. I'm not going to deny that. We're not trying to get away from that. But as we're trying to build lot development, we also have to be cognizant that we need to house Native Hawaiians, and we view this as a way to kind of create a more diversified pipeline of housing in general to help our population, because just focusing on lot development has not done this. This program has been stuck doing that for many, many years, and we're trying to figure out different ways, different approaches, different ways to think of housing when it comes to DHHL.
So I know other areas you had mentioned, but these lots that we're talking about, these rentals, is it going to be for our beneficiaries, or is it going to be open like how some of the other projects in Nanakuli have to open them up to non-Hawaiians on Hawaiian homeland?
I can't speak to that particular project. I know as contemplated right now, we are offering, the idea is to offer rentals to only Native Hawaiian beneficiaries who would go from working off the wait list, recognizing that it wouldn't take somebody off, but using the wait list, we would try to fill these rental units with Native Hawaiian beneficiaries who are waiting for a lease.
The reason why I bring this up is because there's a lot of confusion, about this, and a lot of people we know are people cannot afford a home, or they don't have credit, and this will help them be able to get a rental unit and probably establish credit and establish a way to, when they do get called, to be able to purchase a home. So I just wanted to get that clarified, because there's a lot of misconception that they're saying you take the lot, you're off the list, you're done, you finish, you're gone. And I want to clear that up, because I think that's the reason why we have a big opposition in the community. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions? And then the next bill's yours.
Okay. Our next bill is Senate Bill 3110, relating to HHFDC, which adds the chairperson of the Hawaiian Homes Commission or the chairperson's designee to the board of directors of the Hawaii Housing Finance and Development Corporation as an ex officio non-voting member. Our first testifier is HHFDC with comments. They stand on their testimony. DHHL in support. They stand on their testimony. Ho'omanapono in support. Stand on their testimony. Justin Silva in support. Luann Mahiki Langford Favorito in support. And Jan K. Makepa in opposition. Is there anyone else wishing to testify on SB 3110? If not, any questions or comments, members? I'd also like to welcome our members, our member Senator Kanuha and Senator Aquino. Thank you.
Thank you.
Back to you.
Okay, so then the last measure is SB 3213, requires 1% of the TAT to be allocated to DHHL for purposes of building affordable housing for those on the wait list. And first we have DHHL in support. Okay, BNF with comments. Tax Foundation comments.
Thank you, Chair.
Oh, go ahead, so sorry.
Thank you, chairs, members of the committee. Tom Yamachika from Tax Foundation of Hawaii. We have submitted written comments. We are concerned about the earmark. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you so much. Next we have Ho'omanapono LLC support. Okay, we have Cade Yam Lum support. Justin Silva in opposition. Lou Favorito in support. Jan Makepa in opposition. And then these are all in support. Regina Gregory, Kendrick Farm, Kenani Gramberg, Nancy Jones, and Zeb Jones. Is anyone else here for SB 3213? Seeing none, members, any questions? Okay, seeing none. Want to go right into decision making, or you want to recess? What do you guys think? You okay? I emailed my proposals to you folks. Okay, maybe we'll just go into it just in the interest of time. Okay, so we're gonna go right into decision making. So the first bill on our measure, SB 2654, again, this is exempts DHHL housing from the GET tax. The recommendation is to, I'd like to adopt passive amendments. If you look at the Keaukaha Panaewa Farmers Association testimony, I like their suggestions in terms of just clarifying that these are only to apply for housings that will be awarded to those DHHL beneficiaries. They also want to change the effective date to July 1, 2024. But I do want to exclude, they want to get rid of section 3. I'd like to keep that section in so that this would still be applicable to rental projects. This is a compromise. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, then passing with amendments, SB 2654.
Right. Chair Shubakar,
Aye.
Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Ihara. Aye. Senator Kehokulole.
Aye.
Senator Richards.
Aye.
All right, we should have that.
Okay, and for the Committee on Housing, same recommendation to pass with amendments for SB 2654. Chair votes aye.
Members, SB 2654, recommendation of the chair is passed with amendments. Chair votes aye, Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Aquino.
Aye.
Senator Kanuha.
Aye.
Senator Awa. Chair, your recommendation is adopted.
Thank you. SB 2779, this requires DHHL to build sufficient rental housing, including apartments and rent with option to purchase to satisfy the needs of the wait list. Having gone through all the testimony, I'm going to recommend we pass with amendments. I think that Commissioner Awo has come up with a good compromise in that he really wants to kind of look at the plan for Act 279, but remain open at the same time to other models of development and other financial opportunities, which could include rentals as well. So I think it's a good compromise that he proposes in his testimony. And so, yeah, we'd like to adopt the amendments recommended by Commissioner Awo, basically replacing the contents with what he wrote out. Any questions or discussion?
All right, all senators present for Hawaiian Affairs. Any nays, any reservations? All right, motion passes.
And for the Committee on Housing, same recommendation for SB 2779 to pass with amendments. Chair votes aye.
Members, SB 2779, recommendation of the chair is passed with amendments. Any members voting with reservations? Any members voting no with all others? No from Senator Awa. Any others members voting with reservations or no? Seeing none, and all others voting aye, measures adopted.
Thank you. And next bill, SB 3110, relating to HHFDC. Chair's recommendation will be to pass this measure unamended And in the committee report, we'll also note the testimony with respect to quorum and note that the quorum will remain at 5 voting members. Any questions or discussion, members?
I had a question. I'm sorry, I missed that part of the hearing. And this can be answered later on. When the Hawaiian Homes Commission person is on the board and they don't have a vote. So I assume I'm not sure, our question has to do with fiduciary liabilities, responsibilities, but they don't have a vote. So I guess the question is, if there's something before the body for this board and it is contrary to the person's, the trust, would the person have to say something, although they cannot vote no, but would they be obligated to say something? Maybe we can just catch that question along as we go along if we don't already know. But because of the trust responsibilities, I was curious as to what obligations, even if it's non-voting.
You can note those concerns in the
Thanks.
committee report, Senator.
Yeah, very good point.
Okay, we'll note that in the committee report. Any further questions or discussion, members? If not, again, for Senate Bill 3110 relating to HHFDC, the recommendation is to pass unamended. Chair votes aye.
Members, SB 3110, recommendation of the chair is to pass unamended. Any members voting with reservations? Any members voting no? Without others voting aye, recommendations adopted.
Thank you. And for the last measure on this agenda, SB 3213 requires 1% of the TAT to be allocated to DHHL.
No, we don't take the.
Oh,
vote.
I'm sorry. Oh, yes, SB
3110.
3110, same recommendation. Oh, good job,
Okay.
Vice Chair. Copy.
Oh, yeah, learning. I'll take a note on that. All right, with all senators present for Hawaiian Affairs, we have any reservations, any nays? All right, motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Now for the last measure, SB 3213 requires 1% of TAT to be allocated to DHHL to build affordable housing. Recommendation is to pass as is, but in the committee report, do note the concerns of Doe Tax, Tax Foundation, and others who had concerns. Any discussion? Seeing none, then Vice Chair for the vote.
All right, with everybody present in Hawaiian Affairs, any reservations, any any nays? All right, motion passes.
Thank you. And for the Committee on Housing, SB 3213, same recommendation to pass unamended. Chair votes aye.
Members, SB 3213, any members voting with reservations? Any members voting no? With all others voting aye, recommendations adopted.
Okay, thank you. We are adjourned. All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the 101 Hawaiian Affairs Committee agenda. And we are going to just start right in since we already did the preliminaries. The first bill is SB 3336. This appropriates funds to OHA for the retention of third-party professionals with the necessary financial, accounting, and land inventory expertise to evaluate and address the completeness and accuracy of the public lands trust information system. And so first up, we have OHA in support.
Hello, Minala, Chair, Chair Committee members.
Thank you so much. Next, we have the State Procurement Office with comments. We have DLNR with comments.
Ian Hirakawa with DLNR will stand on our comments and be available for any questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Sherry Broder, OHA's appointed member on the Public Lands Trust Working Group in support. Okay, thank you. Oh, Monopono LLC, support, very good. Justin Silva in opposition, Lou Favorito in support, Lemomi Khan in support. Anyone else here for SB 3336? Seeing none, members, any questions? Okay. Okay, the next we will go to SB 3308. And this requires the use of the modern Hawaiian orthography, including the kahako and okina on the state seal. So first up, we have Justin Silva in support. We have Cade Yam Lum support, Lou Fabrino support, Julia Estigoi Kahone in support, Keoki Faria with comments, Keo Kapukoa, Ka'o He Lali'i, comments, Nancy Jones support, Deb Jones support. Anyone else here for SB 3308? None. Oh, yes, support. Okay, mahalo, mahalo Demont. Okay, any questions, members? See none, then we're going to move on. SB 3363. This provides that a living beneficiary is placed on the DHHL waitlist for any residential or commercial agricultural tract may be designated for transfer to a successor if the living beneficiary dies before receiving an offer of a tract, provided the successor shall be at least 1/32nd Hawaiian. And so first we have DHHL with comments.
Chair, Katie Ducat, Deputy Director for HWN-HOU, will stand on our
Thank you. Next, Attorney General's office with comments.
Aloha, Chair,
Aloha.
members of the committee. My name is Alana Bryant on behalf of the Department of the Attorney General. We submitted comments to help the bill achieve its purpose. And to do that, we suggested amending the Hawaiian Homes Commission Act sections 207 and 208, which would to allow the waitlister to actually become the lessee. We also suggested amending the bill to include pastoral leases, not just residential and agricultural. And I'm here to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next, we have Ho'omanapono LLC in support.
Aloha again.
Aloha.
Yeah, so I strongly support this. You know, the Kuhil's original intent was for 1/32nd, and I believe this is a good thing. And also, I just wanted to be able to reiterate what I said last week. Section 101 of the purpose of the act was to allow Hawaiians to engage in self-determination, self-governance. And if that is the case, then we definitely should be able to, and the legislature should support us, especially in light of Hawaii Vice Statutes, Chapter 10H2, which the legislature recognized as a result of the Apology Bill 1993, that we're entitled to self-determination, self-governance. So I believe that this bill should pass, and that whether or not Congress ratify them or what, this is our homelands, and the state took control of that from the feds, and we should be able to have Hawaiians be able to 1/32nd. I mean, that would include all our people. To separate us by blood quantum is really a tragedy for us. Aloha.
Aloha, thank you. Cade Yam Lum in support. Justin Silva in support. Lou Fabrito in support. Jan Makepa in opposition. Virginia Gregory support. Cindy Freitas support. David Shizuma in support. And Kenani Gramberg in opposition. Anyone else here for SB 3363? Seeing no members, any questions? Okay, then finally, SB 2397. And this excludes from the waiting list maintained by DHHL any lessee or successor who sells or transfers their lease on attractive Hawaiian homelands for personal gain. Establishes that the Hawaiian Homes Commission shall have the right of first refusal for the sale or transfer of a lessee's interest in the lease when it is for personal gain. So first we have DHHL with comments.
Aloha, Chair, members of the committee. Katie Ducat on behalf of DHHL. I am coming to the table on this just to make sure that, this is not a new measure. We did see this last session, and I believe what happened last session is that representations were made that this is an issue that was perhaps best addressed at the administrative level, and giving the courtesy to our commissioners to kind of suss out the fine details, kind of the idea that rather than a hammer, which is kind of the statutory fix, a scalpel was needed. So I just want to point out, and it is in our written testimony, that there was a permitted interaction group, and it is in process currently. They did meet and they did make recommendations to the full commission, basically saying that they needed more data, right? One of the issues is that, and this comes from even the 2020 study, that the amount of people actually inappropriately profiteering, kind of buying and then selling and then buying and selling over and over again is very, very small. And legislative fix like this may have unintended consequences for the amount of people that are actually inappropriately buying and selling leases. And so they are trying to gather more data from basically our Homestead Services Assistance Division to kind of see how often this really does happen. what, in our experience, how these things come to light is that a commissioner or somebody just knows that this person has done it over and over again. But that's not to, we do have to be aware that when these transfers go through, we can't be arbitrary. Just because somebody knows of a offender, you know, if another offender who just isn't on anybody's radar manages to pass through, there's a fairness issue there, right? So those are, I just wanted to comment on that there is a PIG and it is still assessing the situation. So.
Thank you. I'll call you back if you have any questions. Okay, so next we have Ho'oponopono LLC in support.
All right, aloha. This is the one I was waiting for today. So I'll show you guys this. This is on YouTube page by this realtor, how to buy Hawaiian Homelands property in 2022. When I first saw this a few months ago, I was really offended by this because you got these outsiders, non-Kanaka, you know, trying to make a buck on flipping houses on Hawaiian Homelands. Now we've had this understanding many years in our own Lahui of people doing that, but up to today, it's only anecdotal because if you ask the department, do they have an ability right now to track every single leasee that is on Hawaiian Homelands if they're actually there and if they live there and see who and sell their lease? They cannot give you one number right now. And so to say it's only a small percentage or whatnot, the department cannot really tell us that. Even though they had a permitted group, the PIG, they cannot give us that data. You know what I mean? So I believe that embedded in this bill should be the ability or the funding for the department to track this real time, who's been selling their lease. There's only one way to find out. You got to go right down the list on whoever gave on lease and see if they actually live in there. I know of a woman lives in Kailua, got the lease from her brother who died, but there was a family on Fort Road that was living on the land because there was the caretakers over there. And they were told to get off because this lady like sell the lease. She won't stay in her place over there in Kailua where she lived, but she gonna sell her lease. And I told her, you know, you're actually in violation of your own lease agreement because the lease agreement says you have to live on the property. You know what I mean? So the problem is that this is bigger than I think it really is. We're never gonna know unless we get real-time data. So the amendment should be that we give the department ability to track this real time. And the second thing I wanted to be able to recommend is that any lease transfer sold on the open market, like this guy over here doing them, I can give you guys the link. I gave you, Miley, I gave your office manager the link to this YouTube page, that any kind of transfer of lease, buy, sell, trade, whatever, has to first go through the commission itself to approve that, or like you say in the bill, that they get right of first refusal. You know what I mean? But the commission needs to know who is actually selling the lease. You know what I mean? And if you sold your birthright, yeah, right on, bro. You made a lot of money, get off the list, bro. So us guys that I'm on a wait list, and a lot of our kupuna have been bypassed because these youngsters with a lot of money can just bypass us because they get the money to do so. You know what I mean? And this is a problem. And I appreciate Katie. We love Katie. She's a great deputy. But the information that is to this committee that may be small, I don't think so. Because we like see the data. Where's the database that tracking every person that has a lease and has bought or sold a lease in the last 5-10 years? Where is it? Thank you. Aloha.
Thank you. Next, we have Krista Vessel, opposition. KK Monero in opposition. Cindy Freitas in opposition. Patty Kanamoku Taruya in support. Jean Ross Davis in support. Anyone else here for SB 2397? I see none members. Any questions? Vice Chair Favela?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, Katie. So, Katie, you know, you may not be aware, but this measure has come up before this committee at least 4 years in a row. I think 5, actually. I think it was our first year. Heard.
Oh, my first year.
Under the prior administration, the department submitted testimony on this measure indicating a specific, I believe, percentage or number of units that they believe were flipped, or they gave us some data metric. So I would ask that you go back and look at that, because if we're doing this whole permitted interaction group to reconfirm data that was already submitted before this committee 5 years ago, then I would ask that more direct action be taken. The other thing is that you, in your testimony, and at no point in the last 5 years of this bill being heard before this committee, because I think it was 5 years in a row in this committee, at no point did the Department of Hawaiian Homelands ever deny that this type of activity was taking place. And so, although it is not done yet, I'm wondering if you can share what proposals the permitted interaction group has taken steps to vet to address the issue if there has never been a denial by the department that it is actually taking place.
I can, from what I know was reported, so one of the issues is quote unquote catching these transactions, right? How do you catch them and differentiate them from any other lease transactions? So I do know the permitted interaction group spent a lot of time trying to figure out what would trigger a higher elevation of scrutiny. And they were focused on, and I'm sorry, I'm forgetting whether it was the buyer or the seller, but they were focusing on one particular party that implicated money, and then looking at the relation, right? Was this a third party transaction versus a blood relation? And so I do know that the permitted interaction group, that was part of their deliberations. And I think what they wanted to do, I might be misspeaking, but I believe the point of the further data collection was to apply what they had preliminarily identified as a possible way to kind of screen for these types of inappropriate transactions by using that and seeing if how much of those things or how many of those transactions do arise. But you do make a valid point about the data that was already collected. My understanding of that data is that the department at that time, actually, the way that they did it, and it's true, we do need, more better technology so that the people don't have to go in and manually review leases. That's my understanding of how they got to the numbers they did when they presented to you initially. So that is an issue that we are also trying to address at the same time with everything else.
Okay. Well, I appreciate that the work being done is in fact being focused on what to do about it rather than validating data to determine whether we should be doing something. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Vice Chair Fabella?
Yeah, so just one quick one. I know it's time consuming going through the leases like that. Did you guys ever think about just going to one of the homesteads and taking walking data? Because I'm gonna tell you why. I know, I'm not gonna say the name is on the street. One house was sold 3 times. Person passed away, kids never like them, sold them very cheap, sold them to this guy who sold them 3 times in the same area. I might give you the street. Not hard, because once they sell, they put them back on the list. So these are the things that I think it would be easier, I don't use the word easy because nothing is easy, more direct. When you notice that this guy was 369 and then he got off the list temporarily. I don't even know if they even take themselves off the list, Deputy. I don't think they take themselves off the list. They just buy the house, leave it into the person's name and resell it. And all they're doing is doing transfer between them two, and now I'm still on the list. But there is 2 in Kapolei by the high school that did that. They bought a home, they wanted to downsize, sold the home, put themselves back on the list, and then went back because they have Again, we're talking about the haves and the have-nots doing that. So I know you guys thinking that it's a small thing, and that's the reason why he's saying it ain't, is because you guys cannot really find the data. But as regular people that knows the homestead, like we do, we know it's more than often, because it's sad, but it's more than often, especially with the ones that if the other half is passed away and they don't have any ties because they don't have the 50%, they try to sell it before the thing is being, what you call it, take back or whatever. They sell it to another person on the list. Sometimes they know who's on the list, right? So they come to you and say, hey, I'm not 50% or enough to pass down to me. I got a deal for you. And they sell them to you 250, 100. They sell them so that they don't lose out, because they cannot be there because the husband and the kids don't have 25%. So that's another thing that you guys got to look at. When somebody put in a death certificate, how long the transaction that the homestead actually takes back the inventory. But sometimes it takes too long and they sell it. And that's one of the issues, so.
Yes, it is. It's, yes,
Yeah.
point taken.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, Senator Ihara.
Of all the bills that come before us and may come before, this seems to be one where I just want to check my assessment that this is probably one of the more least objectionable in Congress, because it doesn't alter resources. It's just internal. Would that be a correct assessment of the national dynamics, political dynamics?
I have not viewed this bill through a congressional consent analysis. It's possible that it might be considered as one that doesn't need congressional approval, but that's actually a determination made by the Department of the Interior. Sometimes we're surprised. We think a bill doesn't have or need congressional review and consent, and DOI believes otherwise. So I that's not something that's sitting. We would have a position whether or not this bill is subject to congressional review and consent.
What is the
but,
position?
With
Because
regard
in the
to
bill, it
this-
does say that it's subject to congressional approval.
Let's see. Well, it would directly amend the act, and it is, one of the key components is whether or not it diminishes the rights of beneficiaries. If there's a potential diminishing.
What would
This does not seem to do that. This seems to be an attempt to try to preserve rights, as the case.
Well, it does say this act shall take effect upon its approval by the governor of the state of Hawaii with the consent of the United States Congress. So without a consent, even if everyone agrees here, the way the language is, so I'd like to get clear on what is the Attorney General's position on this. Because it could be where you take the position that it does seek approval and maybe get something approved after the election. And if that's the case, then what other things would you want to put in that package of friendly, pro-indigenous peoples kind of legislation that might get through the Senate? Maybe that would be a big thing. But anyway, I'm just thinking that, because of the election and because of the sentiment the country's going, and this is one of the easier one, this might be the, one you can ride. Anyway, just some thoughts.
Interesting. Thank you. Any other questions, members? Okay, seeing none. I think, do you guys want to recess, or can we just go into decision making?
Is there one more?
I think that was the last one, I believe so.
Yep.
Yes. I think so. Yeah. Okay, so you guys okay with going to decision making? Okay. I did email it out.
There was one 2397 that was added?
23, yes, so that's the one we just
Oh, that was
about. Yeah, that's the one. Yeah. Okay, so we're going to start then with SB 3336. And again, this is appropriates funds to OHA to retain a third-party professional in regards to public lands trust. Recommendation is to pass with the amendment suggested by the State Procurement Office, which is making the purchase of service by the third-party vendor subject to the procurement code. And in the committee report, I'd like to also summarize the concerns of DLNR. Any discussion? Okay, seeing none, then Vice Chair.
Actually, on amendment.
With amendments.
All right, Chair Shubakuro,
Aye.
Vice Chair votes aye. Senator Ihara.
Aye.
Senator Kehokulole.
Aye.
Senator Richards.
Aye.
Okay, motion adopted.
And thank you. Next, SB 3308. This requires use of the modern Hawaiian orthography in the state seal. The recommendation is to pass it as is. However, in the committee report, I do want to note the concerns raised by the native speakers, Keoki Faria, Keo Kapukoa, Kaohe Lali'i, and others about the Kahoko and Okina being kind of like training wheels in their eyes. It's very interesting. But yeah, so pass as is.
Chair,
Yes.
respectfully, I'll be voting no on this measure in
For those
support
reasons.
of the Manaleo, many of whom are on the windward side, and the Ni'ihau practitioners who had to fight in prior legislative years to ensure that the use of Okina and Kahako were not forced upon them in utilizing the language. This is a historical symbol. And so in honor of their perspective, I'll be opposing because I do not think it is appropriate to be utilized as it relates to historical symbols. Thank you.
Thank you. That's a very, I'm concerned about it as well for those similar reasons. Any other comments or discussion? Senator Richards?
Given that statement and given that dialect pronunciation is all very regional, I'm going to vote with reservations. I understand the intent, but I'm from Kohala and pronunciation there is very different. So
Thank you. Other discussion? Okay, seeing none, then Vice Chair.
Chair.
Actually, WR Chair.
Okay. Vice Chair votes nay. Senator Ihara.
Reservations?
Okay. Senator Kehokulole, I got your nay. Senator Richards, I got your reservations. So that's what three, the motion adopted.
Thank you. SB 3363, this provides that a living beneficiary is placed on the DHHL wait list for any residential or commercial tract may be designated for a transfer to a successor who is 132nd Hawaii. I'm going to recommend we pass with the technical amendments that the Attorney General suggested. I also want to add that this act should be subject to the discretion of the Hawaiian Homes Commission, and also add a paragraph regarding the possible need for congressional approval. Any discussion?
Chair.
Yes.
Can you know that all my comments were meant to be on this bill?
Oh, okay. Got it. Okay. Yes. That now makes more sense.
Now it makes sense. Right?
Yes. But this one, and unfortunately, I don't think we can get around that congressional approval paragraph. But that one even says, though, they could say no, but with such a dramatic change. But yeah, this is a big deal. I agree. Any other discussion? Okay.
All right, everyone, all the senators on the Hawaiian Affairs Committee, any reservation, any nays? Motion passed, motion adopted.
Thank you. And then finally, SB 2397. And this measure is the one that excludes from the wait list any beneficiary or who sells or transfers their lease for personal gain. Okay, so I'd like to pass this with amendments. I want to add a definition of personal gain and something along the lines of an action that's purely motivated by the desire to make a profit. Also, I want to add that this action will take effect at the discretion of the Hawaiian Homes Commission. And I want to summarize in the committee report the concerns of the opponents, emphasizing that this bill is aimed only at those who are trying to make a profit. And I also want to note Ho'oponopono LLC's testimony that encouraging DHHL to track the sales and transfers, and that the commission might want to consider having to approve of sales and transfers before they occur. That was good testimony. Okay, any discussion? Yes, Senator Ihara.
You mentioned something about the commission is the trigger for whether the act becomes effective.
Yes, I'm thinking that something like this, based on the testimony, I think it was from DHHL.
And my question is that constitutional? Only we can pass bills and make it effective.
I mean, we're passing a bill authorizing the commission to pass.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, we're authorizing.
So whether they implement or not is up to them. Okay.
Yeah, because I think something like this, it sounds like the commission has debated, and I do kind of want to not take away there. Yeah.
No, that's fine.
Yeah, authorizing. Okay, any discussion? Okay.
All right, any other senators in the Hawaiian Affairs Committee, any reservations, any nays? All right, Chair, motion passes.
Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you so much. We'll see you Thursday.